thing I'm most excited about is purchasing my first snake. I'm going to get an emerald green tree boa instead of a ball python.
Are you?
Yeah.
Can I give you a recommendation?
What?
You know what you should try to acquire before you acquire the snake?
A bed?
A girlfriend. I think it'll just be exponentially harder for you to get a girlfriend if the first time you have her over. Her friends are like, oh my gosh, you finally went back to his house. How was it? It's like, well, I had a good time, but he's a snake guy.
He's a snake guy. But hey, I'm not going to lie. This particular snake that I plan on getting.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely eye candy.
Love it. Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah,
man.
definitely, man. I hear that all the time. Girls are like, I really liked him. I just wish he had a reptile. Welcome in. It is What's Right with Nick Wright, the podcast and YouTube show. We finally have completed our countdown of the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. It culminated on Sunday with the more than 1 hour video breaking down LeBron James's entire career. I'm sure we'll discuss that at some point on today's show. Also, by the way, not on today's show, but on Thursday, we will announce the winner of our $1,000 free roll contest, because there was at least, I think there were 3 people that I have found who got 1 through 12 on that exactly right. Whoever got it first gets the $1,000. And you know what? Because I'm feeling good, I'm going to check and see everyone that I found that got it. Everyone who got it 1 through 12 is going to get something.
Right.
The person who got it first is going to get the $1,000, 500 to them and 500 to their charity. If you're watching this and you're like, hey, I'm one of those people, send your initial tweet to our wonderful social team at What's Right Show on Twitter. But I have found, I think, all of them, but I don't want anyone to be left out. So we will do that on Thursday. More on that coming up. More on whether or not Damonza is going to be on Winning Time coming up. And at some point on today's show, we need to discuss what is going to replace our Sunday pod in going into football season in place of the countdown of the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. But before we do any of that, let's start the show how we always start the show, by discussing what we're not discussing. Here's what did not make the cut for today's show. Durant and Harden party with Travis Scott. That's one of Damonza's favorites, Travis Scott. I like Travis Scott a lot. Your sister loves him as well.
Very controversial guy at this point, but yes.
I mean, listen, we don't need to get into that. I don't feel like he deserves much blame of the tragedy of his concert about a year ago. But KD and Harden partied with him. Murray and Banchero beefing after the Pro-Am, I think that did make the show. I don't think that missed the cut. I think that is actually going to be it. You know what? If it's not in the show, we're putting it in the show because I want to discuss that. Dejounte Murray and Paolo Banchero beefing after Pro-Am, and the coldest sponsored by an AC company. I don't know what that is.
That's
do you know what that is?
Jamal Crawford's league.
No, that's the crossover.
Oh.
So you don't know what it is either. DeColdest Crawford? I don't know what this is. Oh, DeColdest is a football player. His last name is Crawford. This is the problem of Damonza only partially listening to the producers when they're setting things up. He heard Crawford. He said it's his league. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
It's what missed.
What'd you say?
It's what missed.
Oh, it's what missed. You know what? You're right. I didn't know about it. You didn't know about it. Now let's get into the actual show. Damonza, what are we starting with?
All right, LeBron is your number one in the last 50 years.
Yep.
Everyone, of course, agrees with you. Nobody's saying anything about it.
Uh-huh.
What's the most compelling argument that you've heard against LeBron at number one? And now that you're done with the list, would you like a do-over? Be honest.
Oh, okay. Well, let's start with the most so there's the top 50 players. There is Jalen and Jacoby, my dear friend. I shouldn't call them my dear friends, but I do. I consider both of them friends, Jalen Rose and, of course, Dave Jacoby, chiming in saying not on a Sunday. There's Torrey Smith, former great receiver with the Ravens, some other teams, sending the great wire gif, Weebay saying, wow, okay, about the list. So before I talk about any potential regrets, let me discuss the biggest and most legitimate argument against LeBron being number one is, if you look at Kareem and Michael, neither one of them ever had anything close to the 2011 finals on their resume. And the question is the 2011 finals disqualifying? Can you be the best ever if you have that type of moment on your resume that cost your team a championship? I obviously believe the answer is yes. I think his body of work before that, and most notably his body of work in the decades since that, makes it, and the totality of it, makes that a part of his story, but not even close to the defining part of his story. And I actually think there is, now this is being very generous, but the most generous reading of it is because of that moment, the guy who came into the league more hyped than anyone, with more pressure than any athlete ever when they arrived to the league as a teenager, all of a sudden had even more pressure in the midst of his career because he had that failure and had to overcome it. That I don't even know that I fully believe that. That would be the most generous reading of it. However, I do think that if you simply say the 2011 finals are disqualifying, that if LeBron had won 8 consecutive NBA titles, it wouldn't have mattered. I disagree with you, but that is to me a fair critique. Okay. That if you're going to be the greatest ever, you shouldn't have that moment. It's not how I view it, but that to me is a fair argument. A lot of the other arguments are just nonsense. The idea that because Michael Jordan has a Defensive Player of the Year award, that he was a better defender than LeBron. You can argue he was a better defender than LeBron. I think you're wrong, but you can make that argument. But the fact that Michael won it in the late 80s and LeBron came in second, was 3 votes short of winning it in 2013, that doesn't move me. That's not resonant. Yeah. The Michael Jordan, the never losing in the finals, has never been as relevant to me as it is to other people, because guy played 15 seasons in the league and won 6 titles. So he lost at some point. Right. There were losses. They just came earlier than later. Those things don't move me. But if you want to say the 2011 finals is disqualifying, that's fine. Go ahead. You want to say something? I can say.
No, I mean, I think the 2011 finals being disqualifying, I think that him not folding, I think that it was easy for him to fold after that.
Well, that's the point.
He came back even harder.
Well, and the very next year they're down 3-2 to Boston. He has the second best game of his career. And so again, that's kind of part of the story. And by the way, if it were myth making or fiction instead of sports, you would have that moment. If this were a movie, you would have that moment and then overcoming it and all of that. Yeah. Okay, now, as far as regrets on the list, I don't really have regrets on the list. However, there are some things that I would like that if I were to do it right now, I would adjust. Okay? First one is this. If I had done the list knowing that Jokic was going to win a second MVP, he's got to be on there. Bernard King gets bumped, he gets on there. It's not right.
Even though, how much you were saying that he shouldn't have gotten the MVP again?
Correct. Listen, I don't think he should have gotten the MVP. But I've got to base it on what guys... Now, much like with Nash has 2 MVPs. I have him 40th behind a bunch of guys who never won MVP and a bunch of guys who only won 1 MVP. So it doesn't mean that I have to put him any higher than 47th on the list. But by virtue of winning 2 of them, I wouldn't have left him off. However, again, I did that part of the list and debuted it and did the video and all of that before he won the second MVP. I have had a lot of pushback on Sidney Moncrief. I do not regret that at all. Bill Walton is a tough one because his window was so short, but I think I got that one right. Kawhi is a guy that when I look back at it, I say, could I have had Kawhi a little higher?
Right. That's what I was thinking.
And you can convince me that when it comes to, let me find a for instance, with Kawhi, who has Kawhi in a short period of time made at least an equal impact on winning and on the league as, for instance, Jason Kidd did? I think the answer to that's probably yes, even though Kidd did it for such a long period of time. Right. Is there an argument for Kawhi over Patrick Ewing and those guys in the mid-late 20s? There probably is. And so maybe I would adjust Kawhi. And the one thing everyone is assuming I'm going to say is
LeBron at 1 and your top.
No, what everyone's thinking I'm going to say is Luka. Luka at 20.
Okay.
And the point that I would make in defense of the Luka ranking is this. The list, I believe, would look foolish in 2 years' time if Luka isn't on there. By putting him as high as I did, it made it clear that his was the one spot that was pure projection. He had, and listen, second most points per game in his career of anyone in the NBA playoffs. He's already a three-time first-team All-NBA guy. He's already 3-time top 5 MVP finisher. He's done a lot of things. Right. His playoff numbers are, I believe, I haven't looked, but I believe if you add points, rebounds, and assists per game together is one thing. So if you average 25, 10, and 5, that's 40. 25 plus 10 plus 5. I think Luka's points, rebounds, assists per game in the playoffs are the highest of any player in league history. Okay? So I think the Luka ranking, like I think he's obviously accomplished a lot, but not nearly enough to be included on the list yet, and not nearly enough, obviously, to be at 20. The reason I feel good about him being at 20 is because if I had put Luka at 46, I think it would look like I was saying he already is the 46th best player. Yeah. By putting him at 20, it's so clear I am not arguing he has accomplished more than Chris Paul already has. Right. I'm saying this is where he is going in order to be a top 20 player. So the short version is maybe a couple tweaks. One has to do with the fact that, the NBA calendar didn't cooperate. One has to do with maybe, just maybe, I underrated Kawhi a touch. But for the most part, I think I did an A+ job. I think it is the definitive and best ranking of NBA players that anyone's ever put together. And I think that I deserve massive credit for having the courage to give respect to Kareem, even at the expense of everyone's idol, Michael Jordan. Now let's move on. What's next?
Very respectable of you. So
thank you.
LeBron and the Lakers have started talking extension.
Yeah.
Thank God he's got your list for some leverage.
Oh, yeah. I expect him to break. Hold on. Can I tell you something?
What?
People aren't going to believe this. Don't put this on social because people are just going to call me a liar and I don't have the energy for it.
Okay.
But you said he's going to use my list to create some leverage. So the 2018 Cavs, LeBron's last year there, after they traded Kyrie. That was a terrible team. It was a mess. And it looked like at the trade deadline they were going to stand pat. Okay. And it was unfathomable to me they were going to not try to maximize one last year of LeBron. And I went on, I think, one of my best rants ever about what Dan Gilbert needs to do. Authorize David Griffin to go out and try to win this year. And that year, by the way, in the playoffs was when LeBron had 2 buzzer beaters, 8 40-point games, and the single best game of his career, the 51-8-8 in the finals. He made the finals, won 2 game 7s. That 2 days before the trade deadline, I was friends with someone on the coaching staff. That coach saw Dan Gilbert in the office or in the building and played him my clip and texted me the next day and said he thinks, now maybe he was just trying to stroke my ego, he thinks it moved him.
He thinks it moved him.
That it moved him. Right. So I say all that to say this. The idea that it's just insane that LeBron would use my list as leverage, there's a little precedent for it. But okay, go ahead. You're talking about LeBron and extension. That's a true story I've never told. I probably wasn't supposed to tell it again. This is for podcasts.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I guess if someone checks out the coaching staff of the 2018 Cavs, they can probably figure out who the guy is. Let's just move on. Go ahead.
Yeah, but the Lakers are still going through things with having Russ and the Anthony Davis rumors.
Yep.
And they also might not have their 2024 pick when Bronny might be in the draft.
Correct. That pick, New Orleans can have the Lakers pick in 2024 or 2025. New Orleans gets to decide once they see where the 2024 pick falls. That's how that works. Exactly right. All right, so go ahead.
So should he re-sign with the Lakers?
Well, not prematurely. Maybe LeBron should re-sign with the Lakers, but there is no reason whatsoever for him to do it now. None. The reasons against him doing it now are fivefold. The only reason you sign an extension early is because in case of injury or talent or skill depreciation, you guarantee yourself the money. LeBron's got over $1 billion.
Right.
He doesn't, the financial security of it is meaningless to him.
Right.
So here's why you wouldn't want to do it. First of all, you want to keep the Lakers' feet to the fire on potentially acquiring Kyrie or potentially trying to win this year. 2, you want to see what if for the 3rd straight year Anthony Davis gets hurt. And it's like, oh, he's not, I'm still up here and he got there during the championship run and there's never, okay, you want that information. 3, I like Darvin Ham. There's a chance, though, Darvin Ham's a disaster. Who knows? Never you all of these things to get information. 4, you want, and this is the part that I don't think anyone's considering. There is a chance that the Lakers are awesome this year. It goes great. And the Bucks and Giannis or whomever wins, right?
Right.
But the Lakers have a great season. There's a chance LeBron does want to stay. And he just does it for less money.
Yeah.
That LeBron says, you know what? Go ahead.
That's what I think he should do.
I think he might do it.
And
what James Harden just did it.
Right. And doesn't that make it much easier for Kyrie to get there?
This offseason, yes, if he comes as a free agent, could make a lot of things easier.
Yeah.
That if LeBron says, I'm going to be in year 21, it's going to be my age, this is the year after this one, my age 39 season. I'm going to play for less. So all of those things. So I see no upside to him signing the extension now. It doesn't mean he's leaving the Lakers, but I see no upside to him signing it now. All right, what's next?
Okay. You said on TV that Trey Lance could win the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, I did.
This guy's last season as a starter was at North Dakota 3 years ago.
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State, sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
So is this an Andrew Wiggins part 2 type of thing? Are you worried about that at all?
So first of all, it is the only way when you're saying Andrew Wiggins part 2, you don't get as crushed by those sons of bitches online for being too high on a guy. Do you understand what I mean? If I said that Trey Lance was going to be a complete bust and then he wins Super Bowl MVP, that is setting yourself up. People give you a little more. One of the reasons people crushed me for the Wiggins thing is they thought the take was mean. They thought so. I don't think there's any take you can give that is positive. That's going to be, if it's a positive take that ends up being wrong, is not ever going to be as polarizing as a negative take that ends up being wrong.
All right.
You follow me?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Now, the question I was asked is, what is Trey Lance's ceiling? And I stand by, listen, I obviously haven't seen, Trey Lance played a handful of NFL games. He played college at Division II school, and his final year in college he only played a game because of COVID. I get all that. I also trust the Niners. I trust the draft evaluators that he was, I don't want to say a consensus top 5 pick, but a lot of teams would have taken him in the top 5. Niners traded 3 first-round picks to go get him, right? That's first of all. Second of all, I like what I saw from him last year. Third of all, the Niners have made 2 of the last 3 NFC championship games with mediocre to below-average quarterbacking. So do I believe in a weak NFC, the Niners could find themselves in the NFC championship game again? Of course.
Okay.
Could they win it? Of course. So if I think he could be in the Super Bowl, he's the quarterback of the team, his ceiling is Super Bowl MVP, which, by the way, this is year 2 for him.
Makes sense.
Colin Kaepernick in year 2 took over for the Niners. They went to the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes in year 2 after playing none in year one, took over for the Chiefs. They went to the AFC Championship game in overtime. Joe Burrow in year two just went to the Super Bowl. Carson Wentz, who stinks in year two, was going to win league MVP. That team ended up winning the Super Bowl without him. Lamar Jackson in year two won league MVP. Guys in year two, if they're that guy, are in recent NFL history pretty damn good. So yeah, it's speculative, but I believe in Trey Lance and I believe in Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and Shanahan and that offense, all of it. All right, that's the time, but we're going to squeeze in one last mini story before we move on. What's next?
Now everybody's feeling as confident about their quarterbacks as you feel about Trey Lance. Matt Stafford has an abnormal elbow injury.
Yeah, they say it's like a baseball injury, like tendonitis. It's weird.
Yeah, but he doesn't seem to be bad an eye at it.
He seems fine, but I think they got him like on a pitch count in practice. But go ahead.
Right. And Mac Jones has been struggling in training camp.
Yeah.
And with Kyler Murray's contract clause, everybody thinks that it's possible that he's not focused.
Yeah.
What's the biggest red flag to you here?
Well, let's just go through them all individually quickly.
Okay.
The Stafford thing is this is one of those things where it's either nothing or it changes the entire landscape of the NFC.
Okay.
If it's just soreness and he's fine, then it's nothing. If Matt Stafford, has to miss time, the Rams are just totally screwed.
Right.
And they're a very top-heavy team. No team can afford to lose their quarterback, but I would argue the Rams are now maybe I shouldn't say they're particularly in that boat because their defense can win them games on its own. But they are the favorites in my eyes in the NFC right now. They're not my pick, but they're the favorites. To me, they should be over the Bucs. So that is, if he's not who he was last year, then they have no chance. So that's either like nothing or as big of an offseason story as there is.
Right.
Kyler, I think the bigger story in Arizona is how poorly the organization is run.
Right.
And I'm not, we've talked enough about that story. Listen, the Mac Jones thing, Mac Jones was awful the final 6 weeks of last year after they mortified him on national TV, only let him throw 3 passes. They lose Josh McDaniels. They don't have a single difference maker as a pass catcher. I think that Mac Jones comes way back down to earth this year. And I think he is the guy we thought he was coming out of college, which is the most pro-ready, but the lowest ceiling. What does that mean? Most pro-ready, probably going to be the best rookie. But then as other guys improve and reach their potential, I think he stays about the same. I think Mac Jones's destiny is to be a Ryan Tannehill-esque guy. In the right circumstances, can be perfectly competent. In the wrong circumstances, can look bad. And is never going to be a guy you're like, yep, he's the reason why.
So he's mid, is what you're saying.
Say it again?
He's mid.
I guess that's what the kids would say. Yeah. Mac Jones, mid.
Yep.
Did I do that right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Say it like that.
Dude, KD on Twitter, Damonza, is so good. So a year ago, I found this tweet from a year ago to set this up. Someone tweeted to KD, "Relax, big dog. You're Kevin Durant. Life is too sweet." This is a year ago. And KD replied to him, "There's no relax, champ. No relax when I'm on Twitter. I'm on 10 until the second I close the app. You relax."
Okay.
And he really has just lived by that credo.
Yeah.
So the other day, I don't even remember what it was. Oh, it was, he hadn't tweeted in a couple days, and then he sent out it was in relation to the 98 Bulls against the 2017 Warriors. And he was like, because Draymond was talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I don't know who would win, but I know Steve Kerr would put Steve Kerr in a bunch of pick and rolls. And it was like 7 a.m. and that was his only tweeting for the day.
Right.
So, and don't put up KD's tweet yet. So at 7:06 a.m., this guy, just some dude, Michael Patrone, tweets, "Car wouldn't start this morning. Get to work late and our internet's down. LOL. I love this shit. Unlike at KD Trey 5, I actually enjoy taking the hardest road. It's basically just problem-solving practice." So before I even get to Kevin Durant's thing, I'm now clicking on this guy, and he is
He's got like an NFT profile picture.
No, but 8-figure Amazon seller. And just one of these guys that is like, hey, he's one of these guys. Would you take $1 million or dinner with Jay-Z? Yeah. I'd do dinner. Because you get just one of these just total buffoons. Sorry, buddy. That's my take from just that one tweet.
Okay.
So now we can put the KD tweet up. This guy sends this at 7:06 a.m. KD hasn't tweeted in 2 days. 17 minutes later, KD writes, you enjoy having a shitty car and getting to work and not being able to connect to the internet?
That's gold.
He's funny, man.
That's gold.
He is really funny.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do, man? Instead of like being all pissy, I really like how he's clapping back at these folks. That was dope.
Dope.
It's
a shame that through a lot of my own doing, I think he really dislikes me because I have totally come around on KD.
Yeah,
I've come around. I never dislike. How can you dislike the basketball player he is? I thought he had made some very poor choices, and there are some things that I've criticized. But man, and I've obviously taken some shots. But he's funny.
I truly disliked KD at one point. A couple years ago.
Yeah, but we don't need to relitigate the Warriors thing. It was just such a turnoff for so many people.
Yeah.
And the Twitter, the burner account thing was such a turnoff. But now he has flipped the whole Twitter thing.
Right.
Now, like, what was his most embarrassing thing?
His real account.
Exactly. And it's so funny.
Yeah.
You enjoy having a shitty car and getting to work,
That's
work
freaking
late,
awesome.
not being able to connect to the internet. God, he's funny. All right. You ready for the second segment?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. How are we starting the B block today?
We're going to talk about winning time.
Oh!
Yeah.
Okay.
I emailed them about
Hold on, real quick. Did you actually send the email?
I can show you right
Okay,
now.
I believe you. I wanted to make
Formatted well and everything.
Okay.
2 photos.
Okay.
I'm Damonza Bird. Da-da-da-da.
Okay, so
The
you
whole nine.
emailed them.
Yep. I emailed them. They haven't gotten back to me, I'm pretty sure. It's either the fans haven't been tweeting enough. Somebody might already have my job. They might be in the studio already. I don't know. But I am still I'm working out, doing at least 200 push-ups a day.
This is true.
Doing at least 150 curls a day, just so I can be as tuned as Byron Scott.
Yeah.
So I'm going to need you guys to pick it up. I'm going to need more tweets, more winning time HBO Damonza hashtags. I need it.
Yeah, and also tweet at Ghost Panther. That's actually the producer's Twitter handle, Ghost Panther.
Okay.
So tweet at him. Do we, though, here's the thing. I keep telling people you were a great basketball player.
Oh, yes.
Go ahead.
We've got proof.
Really?
We've got proof.
Is it high school? Because they don't want to see high school.
It was my last college games that I played.
Oh, okay.
Right here. Look at that shot, man.
All right, that's a good looking shot. I mean, the release, you never quickened the release the way I'd hoped, but it was a smooth shot.
Yeah.
That's a great shot. It's a good looking shot.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know if you can see it. If you're watching it, Damonza's just banging threes. All of these were critical moments, especially these last two. This one I think is off screen, but this is the dagger to win the game. But do we have any clips of the athleticism? Do we have any? Oh, this is the next game. Oh, I remember this. This is a putback dunk.
Man, the pass was amazing.
That was a great pass.
The pass was amazing.
Okay, I like this clip. And then again,
and you can see my dad in the bottom screen on most of them.
Yeah,
jumping up.
I flew to San Diego to watch.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Was that the game that you had almost 30 in the first half?
Yeah, I think I finished with like 27 points.
But they didn't let you play most of the second half because you cursed at yourself.
Yeah,
and so they teed you up.
Yeah, which was really I don't get technicals often. It was really weird.
No, but you were cursing at yourself. And also, it's college. It's not high school. Yeah. I didn't even know you got a technical for that. But neither here nor there.
What are you gonna do?
All right, listen, folks. Damonza is planning on moving to LA. He will go there earlier. And our producers, they were like, hey, Damonza, you can, in the meantime, since you're not set up in LA yet, you can use our address.
Yep,
what they don't understand what that means is if he gets this gig, it's not just use the address. It's live at your house until he gets his apartment, which, depending on the credit check and the rental score, might take a few months. So I hope everybody understands what they've signed up for. But if it ends up with Damonza being Byron Scott on one of the biggest shows in America.
I'll be out there somehow.
You know who I reached out to help us with this? Bomani. Because Bomani has a show on HBO.
It's produced. Oh.
It's produced by the same guy.
Right.
And it's on HBO. So we're trying to.
All right, Damonza stands. We still need you guys, but that's huge.
Damonza stands?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if those people exist.
I'm gonna create a name for him.
Yeah, how about just, friends of the pod? Friends of the pod. We don't need Damonza stands. See, that's where we don't listen. I just want to get I want Damonza to get an audition. I think you would do great. I think you look enough like Byron Scott. I think your build is incredibly similar
and increasing.
I think you are getting bigger. I think the game is similar. I think there's a lot of things. By the way, real quick before we get to right or wrong, because you have been doing a shit ton of push-ups.
Yeah.
You know that every time I holler at you and you're like, let me finish, or you're working out and you make that clear, your mom just roasts me.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Because
I haven't been working out. I did really good for about a year.
Yeah.
Of not just the Peloton, but lifting weights.
Right.
I was working out 5 days a week. And then it's not just that the pod started. It's that your mom, okay, she's not here right now. And I don't think she's going to watch this whole show. Your mom's store opened. And I got basically another job. Drive her to and from work every day. Open up the gates. Do all these things during my normal workout time. So I've fallen off a bit. And so now every time you're down there doing push-ups, she's like, oh, Damonza has time. I'm like, you've got to be
I'm
kidding
making
me.
up for lost time, man. During that year that you were grinding on the Peloton and weightlifting.
Yeah, you got fat, buddy.
Yeah.
You're looking bad. You did no, you weren't looking bad. You didn't get fat. But you also, and then we can move on to the actual show. You did do a full year of building fences.
Which kept me in great shape.
Well, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost might have been better than basketball shape.
Oh, you're certainly stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's amazing what living right around the poverty line, building fences and eating noodles 3 meals a day will do. And then you come move it back in here. You're not building fences. We got a chef, and all of a sudden it's like, oh boy, life's good. Then you got yourself back. I'm proud of you. All right, let's play a game. Right or wrong?
Oh, right or wrong. Luka Doncic was spotted in Slovenia looking Chet skinny.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Okay, well, not that skinny, but go ahead.
Apparently, he's been training extra hard this offseason, and it's clearly showing. Right or wrong, Luka is too skinny.
I actually think that's right.
You think he's too skinny?
Yes. I think that he will put on some more weight. If it was the season we're starting right now, I would not want him that weight. I do think he needed to get in better cardiovascular shape because he has such a load on him offensively. I think one of the reasons that he either was, call it lackadaisical on defense or wearing down in fourth quarters, was he was not in the best physical condition.
Yeah.
Okay? However, I think Luka's NBA equivalent as far as stylistically on offense is LeBron, right? And he's not the athlete LeBron is, but he plays very similar and puts up very similar, the 27-7-7 LeBron's thing where it's you're going to fill up every part of the box score.
Right.
One of the keys for LeBron to be able to do that is taking the punishment. And for LeBron, it was with pure muscle.
Right.
But then later in his career, also put on extra weight.
Right.
Luka's never going to have that type of body. But I do think a little extra weight helps him deal with the punishment.
I was just saying this.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, the only way I didn't want to say that he was too skinny, but I was just saying that the only way that him losing all this weight works if he's just that much faster. But
he's not going to get that much faster.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think he's going to get. And by the way, I don't think he needs to be faster. He makes everyone play at his speed, and he gets him on his ass, like right on his hip, and just does what he wants.
Right.
What he needs is, to be totally honest, his lungs to be in better shape. He needs just to be in better cardiovascular condition. Yeah, for real. And I think trimming down, I think it is easier once the season starts or leading into the season to bulk up with good weight, which I assume he will do. So I like this as a sign of what he's doing this offseason. I would think this would be too skinny for it to be his playing weight. I think he's got to gain a little bit of weight. All right, what's next?
Okay. Dejounte played in a Pro-Am game in Seattle with his new teammates, Trey Young and John Collins.
Yep.
Sorry. After the game, he urged more NBA players to play in Pro-Am games for fans that can't afford it.
Yep.
Right or wrong, it's worth the injury risk for NBA players to play in Pro-Am games.
All right, here's the thing. And this was the knock on Ben Simmons, among a handful of other guys who don't seem to show year-over-year improvement. Here's the thing about NBA players. They're going to play basketball.
Right.
All year round. Maybe take a month off after the season. So whether it's a Pro-Am game, whether it's the open run at UCLA that's been going on forever, whether it's pick up at 24. When you lived in Houston, how often would you see Dwight Howard?
Yeah, he came up to our school one time.
Yeah, listen, guys love to play. So I don't look at it as more of an injury risk playing in these Pro-Am games than playing at Lifetime or 20. These guys are going to play.
Right.
It's not like football where there's so much more contact and you can't really play organized football. You know what I mean? Outside of the context of your team. Right. So I think it is worth the injury risk.
And then I think as long as they're playing with the right folks, I think that you could be playing against high risk, like people that are more.
Well, listen, I think some people would argue that it is a higher risk at the Pro-Am because it's guys who are like, I could be a pro and I'm going to show him. But what's really going to get you messed up is if you're playing with someone totally sloppy, totally out of control. And that's not going to happen in a Pro-Am game as likely as it's going to happen at just some gym, some open run. So I think it's worth the risk. I also want to talk here because I said we were going to talk about it. The Dejounte Murray, Paolo Banchero all of a sudden feud. I love it. I love that Paolo all of a sudden is taking on the mantle of I was the number one, pardon me, but pick of this draft. Nobody's going to talk trash to me. And Dejounte, who nobody's ever thought of as a star.
What is he in, year 5?
Dejounte Murray?
Yeah.
That sounds right. I'm not sure if it's year 5 or year. I think it is year 5.
I just think it's I'd compare it to me fighting with Deanna. How are you going to be beefing with this dude that just got to the NBA?
Well, I
get he's the number one pick, and it's but it almost.
So he's played 5 years, but he missed 1 year with injury. So he's played 6 years if you include that. So this will be year 7. It's because he's the number one pick, and Dejounte's feeling himself. You know what I mean? Got traded for all these picks. Is looking at a big deal coming up. So I get it. I also like Paolo not backing down. I like the whole thing for both of them. All right, I know we're out of time, so we'll go quick through these last few. What's next?
Former Pats offensive lineman Rich Ohrnberger said that but once after oversleeping, intentionally crashed his car so he could dodge the wrath of Bill Belichick. Right or wrong, this is the sign of a great coach.
Okay,
that's freaking crazy.
All right, it's story time real quick.
Yeah.
Right? This was like the most instant karma that ever happened, all right? So I'm not even going to answer this question. Belichick's a hard-nosed guy. We all know it. It's fine. The reason I left this in the show is to tell the story. So, college, my friend Tamara, who you know, was flying back from somewhere to Syracuse. An overnight flight, 6:30 a.m., or maybe even earlier, landed.
Okay.
And I told her I'd pick her up. I had been gambling. It was coming back from winter break at Turning Stone Casino in Syracuse. And I lost track of time, or I didn't care, or whatever. And as I'm walking to my car, she calls me to say, where are you? And I'm walking to my car from the parking lot. And it's a 45-minute drive.
Okay.
And it's snowing because it's Syracuse in the winter. And I answer and the phone dies. And I'm like, oh my God. So I get on a toll. Syracuse highways out there's toll road. Get to the toll booth. And I convince the toll booth operator, this is pre-Easy Pass.
To take chips?
No, to let me use his phone.
Oh, okay.
To call her and tell her.
All right.
So I call her and she's yelling at me. She's like, where are you? I've been waiting. And I'm like, and I got irritated that she was irritated with me. She doesn't know this, but I don't know if she watches the pod. I got irritated that she was irritated with me. So I said, I was like, Tamara, I got in a wreck. And she was like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Car's a little banged up, but I'm running late, but I will come. I will be there. She's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm on my way.
What a menace.
Give the guy his phone back. Leave the toll area. From the toll area, it's a ramp to the next highway. Car spins out on the ramp and bangs the guardrail. Right after I claimed I had gotten in a wreck. So 2 things. One is, that's crazy karma. Second is, I don't know what my plan had been about when I picked her up and she was going to be like, but now there was actual damage to the vehicle.
I would have kicked the car.
Well, it wasn't worth it. But so I've done something similar. I get it. The old car wreck excuse, except I didn't try to get in the car wreck, but I did get in the car wreck. Okay, all right, let's move
Bill
on. What's
Belichick is just as scary as an angry, not girlfriend at the time.
I think that's actually smart. I think Rich probably would have gotten cut. I think it's actually smart.
Okay.
He's cut guys for less. All right, go ahead.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers said last week his back-to-back MVPs came from his improved mental state, from taking psychedelics called...
You've been practicing this all morning.
Ayahuasca.
Oh, nailed it. Nailed it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, right or wrong, to improve the show, we should take psychedelics.
Well, do they work, Damonza?
I have no idea.
You a damn lie.
I don't. I took psychedelics once. Am I allowed to say this?
Yeah, sure.
I'm a grown man, dude. I'm 24
Yeah.
years old. Yeah, I'm Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, I took psychedelics once when I was a kid, and I went to Schlitterbahn.
When you were a kid and you went to
not when I was a kid. I was
Oh my God.
I was
all right.
age.
All right, bleep that entire. You know what? Hold on. We're gonna. Oh my God, that makes me look so bad. That's not what I thought you were gonna say. You can leave this in the show. But bleep some of that.
I was
just bleep the context of when and where.
I wasn't a kid.
Just stop talking. Stop talking. I was joking. You weren't. Oh my God.
I've got to get that
that sense of like when I'm serious and when I'm not.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
what you're like. Are we playing a game here? Am I being serious? I respect the honesty. Dude, I remember I know how old you were the last time you went. What are you?
I was 18.
You're 18. I don't think that you keep saying it like, I was 18. You're still illegal. No, the answer to this question is no. We're not taking psychedelic drugs to improve the show. And no, I'm not taking ayahuasca or I joked on TV that I would microdose psilocybin. Like they did in that 9 Perfect Strangers thing. But I'm not a drug guy. I have enough vices. I gamble, I drink, I occasionally smoke. I am not a drug guy.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, what's the last topic? This really went off the rails. I blame the producers for putting this in there without fully vetting you. Go ahead.
Video surfaced of Royce O'Neal breaking his mother's ankles.
Yeah, new net.
At the Nets training facility.
Uh-huh.
Right or wrong? I should do this to mom.
How do you think that would go for you?
I just don't think I'd post her up.
Okay, but if you were playing basketball with her and she ended up falling to the ground and people were around, how do you think that would go for you?
Honestly, don't know.
I do. Do you remember the time? I mean, maybe
sweating?
you don't. Maybe you don't remember because maybe you were tripping balls right before you went to Schlitterbahn. But the last time your mom, you were in high school. We were standing in the kitchen, and I don't know what you said to your mother.
When she put her finger in my nose? Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, like
Damonza's big ass is towering over Danielle, and he said something that made her mad.
Yeah.
And she reached up, stuck her finger in your nose.
In like all the way in my nose. Like not just like right here.
Yeah, like
trying to get out a booger type of situation.
Like daring you. Like, do something, son. Like, oh my God. And I was standing there like, oh my God. What's going to happen here?
It was after an elite performance at an AAU basketball game, by the way.
I don't. That's probably why you were feeling yourself. You got a little too big for your britches.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna discuss, me and my wife's parenting strategies of, the late 2010s, because it looks like we might have had a few misses, and we'll come right back.
Late 2010s. By the way, that never happened. That was just for the.
Yeah, that's what you always say. Like anyone, whenever, just so you know, a little pro tip is another wisdom from my buddy Laszlo. Anything you say on the air that then causes blowback in your real life, you just say, what are you talking about? We're entertainers.
Just for the show.
Like you arresting Johnny Depp for being a drug trafficker, but once you see blow, no, you're not. Like, we're just performing here, even though it's all true. Okay,
but it's not.
It's not. It's not.
I thought it'd make a cool story.
Exactly. There you go. You're learning.
I don't know
fast.
how we can.
All right, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back in. What's right, Nick Wright? Final segment. Try to be quick here because, not shockingly, our first two segments both went a little over. So, I said we're still going to be doing 3 pods a week most weeks. And by the way, also next week we're off. Next week I'm going to Italy. One last vacation, and then we're going to be on until through the end of the Super Bowl. But once I come back, we're going to be doing 3 pods a week, just like we've been doing. And we might even have a fancy new studio. Keep that under wraps for now, but at some point it's coming. And we'll show that to you guys. But we're not going to be doing the 50 greatest players of the last 50 years. And I don't have another ready-made list that I've been working on for a couple of years. So what is going to come in place of that 3rd pod a week? And the answer is, during NFL season, it's going to be a gambling show. So there's going to be a lot of elements here that we are still working out. One of them is, while Damonza is a football fan and watches the games, he does not bet on football. And in fact, it does not even, as I think maybe a lot of you, is not familiar with things like teasers and some of the exotics that are big in football. By the way, and you can still get down on it, I think my favorite bet of week 1 is a 2-team 6-point teaser where you're going to tease the Bengals to a pick'em at home against the Steelers and whatever doofus they trot out at quarterback, and the Broncos to a pick'em at Seattle, where they're going to annihilate the Seattle Seahawks. There's just no chance Russell Wilson, I'm not a big Russell Wilson guy, but there's no chance they lose to that Seahawks team that's starting either Drew Lock or Geno Smith. So a nice little early preseason 2-team teaser, start your season off right. So we are going to do a weekly gambling show, and I am going to try to get other media members across not just Fox, but across, all of national media to enter into an official picks contest. Now, part of this will be part of what we do on the show. We're gonna kind of iron all this out. But I would like to get all of as many national media members as possible to put, call it $500, $1,000, whatever it is for the season. So it's not weekly or anything like that. But every week we give our picks, like the Las Vegas Hilton Super Contest or whatever it's called now. And at the end of the year, we have a winner. Going into the year, though, a little preview, if you are curious what I am on headed into the season, as far as season-long win totals, where I'm at, I really like the Jags over 6.5 wins at plus money. I believe in Trevor Lawrence. I think quarterbacks of that caliber, plus the Doug Peterson addition in that division, can the Jacksonville Jaguars win 7 games? And the answer is unequivocally yes. And you're getting plus money on that. And you might say, Jacksonville was so bad last year. It's true. But Jacksonville on the schedule this year has Washington, has 2 games against Houston. They have Detroit, they have the Jets, and the Giants. So that's 6 games against some of the worst teams in football. If they can just go, call it 4-2 in those 6 games, can they find 3 wins in the rest of their schedule? Absolutely. In fact, I think the Jags could go 9-8 if everything falls right. So the Jags are one team that I'm very high on the season long over. as far as a season-long under that I like a lot, I don't see how Denver gets to 11 wins. And right now, their win total is sitting at 10. 10-7 would be a push. For the Broncos, just to do this quickly, the Broncos, how many wins do the Broncos need to have banked to get to 11 wins when you consider here is their final 6 games of the year? At Baltimore, home for the Chiefs, home for the Cardinals, at the Rams, at the Chiefs, home for the Chargers. So that is 6 games. You have 2 against the Chiefs, 1 against the defending champion Rams, 1 in Baltimore. Well, Arizona's the only easy game, and they were a playoff team last year, and then home for the Chargers to end the year. So even if they are 8-3 through 11 weeks, are they a lock to get to 11 wins? Absolutely not. Are they a lock? Like, if they're 9-2, are they a lock to get to 11 wins? No, they're likely, but they could. 9-2. I'm sorry, they're 9-2, and they would go 2-4 down the stretch. Sure. So I guess point is this: Denver under 10, I like a lot. Jacksonville over 6.5, I like a lot, and that tease of the Bengals to a pick'em and the Broncos to a pick'em. You might be saying, Nick, saying the Broncos under and you're putting the Broncos in a tease. I think the Broncos are going to start the year 2-0. They start at Seattle and home for Houston, but they need to start the year basically 7-1 in order to hit that over, given what their second half schedule is. So more of that, plus some games and some contests between Damonza and I during our weekly gambling show. That'll be coming up later in the week. One more pod this week. Then I go to Italy. Then we're back full force with the NFL season. That's today's show.
Goodbye, folks. Remember what I said.
Hey, thanks for watching. Smash or just lightly tap that subscribe button. It all works the same. To get more from the show, and make sure you click. Why don't you want to mash the bell too, guys? Or just, lightly tap the bell to get notified every time new content drops. Check out full episodes of What's Right wherever you get your podcasts, or just hit the link in the description below.